had 8.4 days left till we could get off this planet. I was sleeping in the bed with Marjo. We were both pretty beat up. Marjo had an infection she was fighting. Spencer was sleeping as well. She was a little bit beat up. She had the malaria. It was rough times around here. By morning, I was fully healed. These bionics really do the trick, it turns out. And about that time, a bunch of pirates showed up with the intention of besieging us. They were pretty far away, and they were in a rather open spot where we wouldn't have any cover if we wanted to go out and give them the business. We had a psychic shock lance nearby we'd been saving, so we decided to use that on one of them, just to see if we could prevent one of them from firing. So they did their thing, got their supplies, set up their sandbags, built their mortars. Marjo was breaking steel down, Spencer was hauling bodies, I was repairing stuff. Walls were pretty beat up out front. And since we had 2 psychic shock lances, Marjo decided to target the people that were doing the firing of the weaponry. So she did, and of course, down they went. We were hoping the rest of them would decide to come attack us since we were taking them out from afar like that. Sadly, didn't make much difference. Somebody else just got involved. They bombed us pretty good, hit our freezer the first time. Started everything on fire. We didn't have a ton of meals sitting about. Their next shot went wide. They had some people on fire. That wasn't stopping them from shooting. They landed one in our gun room. Our woodshed had caught on fire too. Our dog was in there just burning up. It was horrific to hear its screams. We couldn't help it though. We had fires inside to put out. We didn't want to lose everything. And they kept right on shooting at us. Those shells are just wicked, man. One of them landed right in our bedroom. Marjo was completely ignoring the whole affair. Our heater was on fire. We were threatened losing our medicine as well. I decided I'd better do that. Seemed more important than the food, which we could easily replenish. So I gave up on the freezer. The woodshed was just going to go. There wasn't anything we could do. Spencer was putting out the fires outside still. They were spreading rapidly. She decided to come in too, forsake the guns, help with the bedroom situation. They continued to bomb us. Fires are spreading everywhere. Things are turning into a horrible mess. It was really hot in the bedroom. Felt myself coming down with heat stroke. Burned my hand. Spencer decided to go get working on putting out the freezer fires. I did the same. The phone was ringing. Something about a bandit camp quest. We certainly couldn't be troubled about that at this point. Marjo started lobbing shells back at him. We decided to let the woodshed burn. Wasn't going to do us much good. There's no way we were putting that whole fire out. There was a big fire going near the ship. They'd hit part of the ship as well. That could be catastrophic. We decided we'd better prioritize that. They bombed our freezer again as well. Marjo kept lobbing shells back at them. The fires inside were spreading. One of our geothermal generators was going to go up as well. Spencer was taking care of that while I took care of the ship. Marjo had killed some of them with the shells she was shooting at them. If only we had incendiaries. We had guns blowing up, fire spreading. They hit some of our guns and destroyed them as well. We decided we weren't going to rebuild over there. We had our hands full. Fortunately, it started raining about that time. And that was making all the difference in getting these fires put out. We had roofs missing in our house. Diminished security. damaged ship. So much stuff going on. And they landed one in our storage room as well. I decided to go deal with that as soon as I could. Our freezer was burnt up. The vent was on fire. Spencer went to take care of that. We'd lost a lot of food. They landed another shell right by our ship. We'd have to go back and get that put out if the rain didn't do it for us. Well, we rescued the storage room, rescued the ship. Marjo ran out of shells. She had destroyed one of their mortars. That didn't stop them from shooting the other. They had a pretty decent stack of shells still waiting. So despite them being down to one mortar, they continued to fire it at us. And the fires outside continued to catch, but the rain was coming down pretty good. About that time, some more pirates showed up, a couple different groups of them. Wasn't much we could do. Hunkered down inside. Hope nothing caught on fire. I had to give Spencer some treatment for the malaria, which I took care of. I just needed some time to chill out, so I stood in the rain, tossing horseshoes. Seemed like a decent way to pass my time. That group of people that had come to attack us stepped on enough traps, scared them off. A dog was wandering around out there, looking rather ferocious after all the horror that had been heaped upon us already. We had a big mess to clean up. Our other dog had an infection in its leg. And they landed a shell right in our workroom. Spencer and I ran in there and started putting the fires out. We didn't overly need that comms console anymore. It didn't mean we wanted to see the place get destroyed like that. I went and treated the dog. Everything was a mess. All the junk coming down out of the sky, debris, fire smoke. And they kept right on sending them in. I landed one right in our cook room. Spencer and I both ran in there. I had to give up on treating that dog. Poor thing's gonna get left anyways once we get off this planet. Should we make it through this madness? They were hitting our walls as well. Our whole woodshed was gone, including all of our wood. We shouldn't really need it anymore anyway. And the shells kept falling. All the pirates had fallen asleep. We had a brief reprieve for the night. We thought about sneaking up on them, giving them some business, but considering we had our hands full, we didn't bother. Marjo went back to smelting steel. If only we had some super weapons, we could go take them out while they slept. Marjo is still recovering from malaria as well, as was Spencer. They're in pretty rough shape, but they'd pull through. And you could tell when the pirates woke up because the shells started falling again. We didn't have any food left other than the packaged survival meals. They destroyed our cook stove, the light in there, the stool. Marjo was tossing horseshoes, just chilling out. I went around and rebuilt the roofs that had been destroyed by the shells falling. They landed one right on our fabrication bench. I decided I'd just deconstruct the thing. Hopefully I didn't get bombed up in the process. We got some supplies back. Spencer and Marjo needed some treatment about that time, so I got them taken care of. Spencer's taking a walk around, just hauling stuff back and forth. The shells continued to land. And they had plenty left. They kept hitting our kitchen and freezer area. The place was just a nightmare mess. We had to do some repair on our ship eventually too. I was a little worried if they should hit it again, we'd be in trouble. So I got that taken care of. And there were walls that I wanted to repair as well, just for the sake of security. They destroyed doors, started fires. Some cargo pods fell nearby. Looked like berries. Seemed like we had our hands too full to be out picking up a bunch of berries. And they kept on lobbing shells. Some of them were landing outside of our home area, which we were thankful for. Spencer and I were putting out fires just to keep all of our structures safe. Marjo was still smelting steel. She couldn't be concerned about a fire, that's for sure. And the shells kept landing. They hit one of our guns, some of our sandbags. That was crucial. We had to get those put out. We had roofs over those. Rain wouldn't help us. And about that time, some mechanoids showed up. We hoped against hope the mechanoids would go take out those pirates for us. As a shell landed right in our living room, smashed our table and started our chairs on fire. And Marjo completely ignored it. Once again, she can't be troubled to be concerned about a measly little fire. Chairs are burning up. Table is on fire. Robots were coming in hot and heavy, trying to kill us. Didn't overly matter, though. They killed our warg. Not that we were attached to him anyways. And then they came in to taste our guns. Our dogs were running from them, wide open. And we were putting out fires still. It was a hell of a nightmare situation. They'd hit our workroom again. Marjo was running out to see if she could rescue the warg. Turns out it wasn't quite dead. The guns were taking those things out. Sure as they would. And we felt a little bit safe from anything that tried to invade us. And those pirates still had a lot of shells, though, and we still had our hands full. Spencer and I took a break from putting out the fires, had some meals. We should have plenty of meals to see us through here. They landed another one in our workroom, but there wasn't much left to burn. There were fires burning outside. We were hauling bodies out since there were so many around. They started some of them on fire, which was fortunate for us. We wouldn't have to haul those ones. So we decided just to let them burn, try and protect our guns. We had trees growing up in there anyway. Wasn't as much of a security zone as we would have liked. It's like a little forest, actually. And we hauled in the mechanoids, hauled out the dead bodies. It was raining pretty good again, which was great since there were fires burning everywhere. It wasn't so great on the bodies we wanted to burn, but it was what it was. We did our work as best we could with the shells falling. Pirates were falling asleep again. Couldn't even be troubled to stay awake while they killed us from afar. Marjo had a narrow miss with a shell. One of our guns was destroyed. We decided just to move a different one in there, since we had our hands full as it was, trying to keep everything done in order here. I was asleep. Spencer was asleep. We were completely exhausted. Spent the whole day just running around putting out fires. We decided to move some guns around, put them in the middle of our area in case the pirates got wise. Finally, they ran out of shells and decided to come assault us. We were so tired, it was over. We couldn't even fight back. Fortunately, our guns could. Not sure why they finally got bored. They hadn't run out of food or shells yet. Some of them had gotten into a fight, though, so maybe they'd gone down and decided they were losing people. Our guns cut loose as soon as they turned up. And they were doing the job, but we couldn't, which was thankful. Our comms console had been destroyed. We decided we weren't going to rebuild that. We were all feeling a little bit crabby. Marjo had seen so many dead bodies. We had mechanoids to break down, slag to haul. Just everything was a nightmare. I'd like to just sit and drink beer. Didn't know if that would be in the cards or not, though. And Marjo got up and did some cleaning. She needed tending for her malaria, but she was doing really well with it. I tended Spencer since she was having such a hard time as well. I had myself a meal and a tea. Went and talked to Marjo, get her tended up. Decided to do a bunch of cleaning. We had to live here for a handful of days yet. And wouldn't you know it, another bunch of jerks showed up at that time. We decided to head on out and see what we could do. Our dogs are out there. Turns out, these people just won't give up, man. This time they decided they were going to try and bust through a wall, avoid our guns altogether. But we had a bunch extra, so we decided to move them about. They had grenades, so they were going to make quick work of our walls, especially where they were already damaged and we hadn't had time to do any repairs. We moved the guns around. I think they could hear us in here because they kept moving, changing their strategy. And one of our dogs went out there. Needless to say, they started shooting it, hitting it with grenades. At least there was a little bit of friendly fire going on. And we were hauling guns in, trying to get them set up in a proper spot, so that when they got through the wall, we'd have some support. There were quite a few of them. They were relatively well armed. Our husky Baldy got killed. Sons of bitches. I don't know why these people want our ship so bad. We don't have what it's going to take to get that many people off this planet. Next up, they started hitting on the back door with the grenades. And they were making fast work of it. We kept moving our guns around, hoping we could provide some type of security for ourselves. Eventually, we'd have to give up and try and fight them. But for now, we could do what we could do here. I was just waiting. Eventually they'd get through. Marjo was moving guns. I took cover as best I could. Marjo got a gun set up. Marjo was going to find a good spot to hide. Spencer was eating. We'd run out of decent meals. We're still eating those packet survival meals, but some apples had showed up. And they switched strategy again. Started bombing somewhere else. Somehow they knew we were moving these guns. Maybe they were watching us on satellites or something. I don't know. So I moved the turret gun again. Spencer finally decided to join us in the defense. And the people were through. So I ran and set up the gun, which started shooting right away, fortunately. Narrowly missed, getting hit by a grenade. They were hiding behind the walls, trying to have it out with me. We couldn't shoot them from where we were at. I could, but the women couldn't. They kept chucking grenades. Our gun was doing a decent job, more than the rest of us, that's for sure. The guy with the grenades was finally coming in, and I was mad as hell at him. He came right up on me and chucked a grenade at me. So I had to get on out of there as fast as I could. He killed his buddy. Not even sure he cared about that. One of his friends killed him, shot him in the back. There were so many of them. They were shooting like crazy. Everybody had cover, except myself, of course. They were plugging me up pretty good. I needed to move. There wasn't anywhere I could go at the minute. And finally, we fought them off. They decided to flee. They were pretty well wounded. A lot of them were down or dead. We let them go. We couldn't deal with them. Much as I was mad, had that battle rage upon me. I hit the hay. It's going to need some tending. Marjo came and took care of me. Yeah, I was pretty well beat up and peppered with shots. Spencer was chilling out, tossing some horseshoes. And then she started cleaning, which was fantastic. We had piles of dead bodies everywhere. It was just a complete and total nightmare. We started rebuilding the exterior walls as fast as we could. Fortunately, we had some block around yet, but not a ton. We could barely be troubled. Get out front and deal with all the stuff that was out there. We had to have some priorities around here. One of our dogs was still alive. He seemed pretty sad about the death of his friend. Spencer is almost over her malaria. Thankfully, Marjo, she still had a little time to go, but she was clearly recovering. So I got Marjo tended. I got Spencer tended one more time as well. We had the meds, so why not use them? Try and speed that process up as fast as we could. And there was stuff to haul. Namely, a crap ton of bodies. But we also had some walls to build. So Marjo and I got busy on that. I decided to hit the hay. It was midnight. It was dark. I was standing around a bunch of dead bodies. It was unpleasant to say the least. And I was all shot up. Fortunately, between the bionics and the armor, I'd done just fine. Marjo was rebuilding walls, trying to close the place off again. Spencer's running around, tidying stuff up. And we decided to get some mechs brought in and hauled. We got the back wall rebuilt best we could. Got the southern walls closed off as well. So at this point, the place was a disaster. Everything was shut off though. We had a minimal level of security again. We left our guns right where they were. Maybe that'd prevent people from tunneling in again. Marjo was having a beer while I had a meal. Marjo went and fed the warg. Transport pod crashed nearby. Some girl named Taz. She didn't have long to live. We wouldn't be able to make it out to her. So we just carried on. Not sure how she ended up here, but maybe it's better she died. Hopefully she never gained consciousness. We have more corpses laying around than you would imagine. Rotten aliens, mechs, humans, everything. Complete disgustingness. We were cleaning stuff up when another siege started. More of those dirty pirates showed up and give us another dose. They'd saw how effective it was. They'd mostly destroyed all the stuff we had, except for our beds. A couple workbenches that we didn't really need anyway, but so at this point we had to figure out what in the world we were going to do. We hadn't got out and picked up the extra shells those other jerks had left, so we couldn't really fire back. And we started running out there with our guns. We were all about as crabby as it could get. There was a pack of muffalo there. We thought about trying to piss them off. Seemed like that could backfire pretty easily. So I came around the corner and started shooting, and they all immediately gave up on the idea, setting up the siege, and they just started chasing after us, trying to kill us. I guess that works out. We won't have to get bombed to death over the next couple days. So they were giving chase. One of them was chopping down a tree. It seemed like a weird thing to do in a battle, but what do I know? They left some shells down there, so we were going to try and reclaim those. I wasn't moving too fast. It took me a while to get across the water in this heavy armor. So they were shooting at me, but they weren't having much luck, fortunately. The girls were already set up in our security area. And when they finally got up, the pirates started killing our other dog. It didn't take long. We still had one left, but we might yet be able to rescue the one they just injured. The fools were coming in, eating bullets, which was great. We were yelling at them, trying to entice them in, and they were falling for it until they eventually realized this was a lost cause. So it was back to hauling bodies. I ran out to see what I could do for that dog. I felt bad for it. I don't know how the hell they knew it was our dog. What made them think we really give a crap about it? He just showed up. We were being nice to it. Trying anyway. Marjo went to bed. She was pretty crabby at all the dead bodies she'd seen. Same for Spencer. Spencer was totally over the malaria, and Marjo had an immunity. We had some health shard things. We couldn't figure out what to do and how to use it. Turns out those things aren't even for humans. You have to have some kind of special gear to use them. All this time, we thought we could do some proper healing. Turns out we couldn't. It's a good thing nothing happened and we didn't use them. We had 4.6 days left before we could get off this planet. And it was about that time some other jerks showed up. These people seemed to be more like tribals, though. Weren't as scary as people with rifles and whatnot. We decided to put some guns in by our ship, try and keep people from coming through the wall in there. If we had a firefight in there, some grenades went off, that whole ship could go up, and that would not be good. So we got some guns moved around and hoped we could hunker down for a while. You could hear them all swarming around outside, and sure enough, they came through the part in the wall that was already damaged. So we took cover, the only place we could. We had as much preparedness as we could for having been woken up in the middle of the night by a bunch of jerks trying to kill you. They started attacking our warg right away. Turns out, though, the warg won, dropped one of those fools. And then they went on around, trying to get in the back of the place. So we decided to run out and see what we could do. We thought about rebuilding that wall real quick, but in the end, we decided just to go out and do some shooting. They were all bunched up. We should have a decent chance of bringing them down. They started charging at us, so we took off running. But when we did that, they backed off. So it was a game of cat and mouse, except we had the upper hand here. They were bashing in our back door, doing a pretty good job. Wouldn't take them long to get through it. So we were shooting them up as fast as we could. One of them got a hold of Spencer with a spear. Cut her up a bit, but not too bad. And they were shooting bow and arrows at us. They were in, trying to get into our bedroom, but we were shooting them all up on the outside. When they finally got in the bedroom, they didn't know what to do. I'm surprised they didn't just steal something and try and leave. We kept shooting at them. We were going to have to find some plan here. And eventually, we scared them off. They decided to flee. Didn't even steal anything. We went on inside. Turns out, we weren't even going to be troubled to try and hunt these fools down. We had to get our rest so we could get to rebuilding. Marjo took care of that warg because it had taken care of us. He was pretty well beat up. I needed some tending as well, as did Spencer. Spencer was malnourished. It had been so long since she ate. Marjo had to tend her up too. And then I got up, started working on a wall. Once again, we had a ton of rebuilding to do just to try and keep a tiny bit of security around here. Spencer ran out, started picking up some meals from the south. I told her to bring those shells back, though. That'd be a bigger priority. Should we get assaulted again, we'd have some options. And we were rebuilding the walls where they'd been destroyed. Marjo was. Then she decided to toss horseshoes. And the walls were rebuilt. There was still a mountain of dead things everywhere. Some travelers were passing by. Must have turned up just to see the show. It's quite a nightmare. We didn't have a door on our bedroom anymore, so I got to work on that. I could hear one of those guys out there suffering on our dock. I looked at him as I went to build a door out there. The travelers just shook their heads. They were in awe at the disastrous mess going on over here. We told them they better be careful with those aliens running around. I decided to hit the hay. I had some injuries, but nothing too major. Turns out this armor was the key. I don't think I'd be around right now had we not made that extra effort. Marjo actually got around to building traps. Been so long since we had traps. As I slept, I healed up just fine. I decided to get up out of bed. Spencer was hauling steel since we were a bit short and had a ton of traps to build yet. We'd given up on moving all the bodies for the minute. We were just going to have to look at them. And we had traps we could move from elsewhere, so we put those up front. I decided to take care of all the mechs we had sitting around. And then I decided it was time to eat as well, being that I was hungry from working all bloody day. All three of us were about as crabby as it could get. Marjo and I hit the hay, sick of seeing rotting, disgusting corpses. Otherwise, just upset about the mess. Spencer pretty much had the same concerns. Marjo and I had some fun that night, though. And it was about that time the aliens showed up again. Turns out we can't get a single reprieve here. The new traps were all destroyed, but the guns were still in place. And they did the job quite nicely. Didn't take much to get rid of those alien jerks. We all slept right through the whole thing. At least the aliens don't have the sense to try and come through a wall. When I got up, I finished getting rid of the mechanoids, and then I decided to start cleaning. If we could get this place clean, we'd all be a little less crabby, I'm sure. One of the dogs needed some food. Fortunately, none of our freezer units had been destroyed, so we still had cold stuff. Else we might not have any meat for these dogs or the warg. Marjo took time to eat. Spencer and I got stuff carried around. And then it was time to rebuild traps once again. Carry dead aliens out. I chilled out and had a beer. Spencer was hauling in guns. We were debating on smelting them up, since we were still kind of short on steel. We'd have to see, though. Marjo was carrying guns in, too. Spencer decided to get some bodies moved out. I built traps standing in a pile of corpses. And I got a bunch of them remade. Spencer is pretty crabby. She decided to inject some go juice, see how that'd make her feel. And you could see her mood improve a bit. She was still standing in a pile of rotten corpses. We got the ship completely repaired. Marjo got to working on those traps again. Spencer was having a meal. We had some extra guns and weapons about. Not sure we'd ever get to the actual act of smelting them. You'd never seen so many dead bodies, nor would you want to. Like a terrible film from a TV or something. We took apart our trade beacon as well. Didn't want to lure anything in with that. If something fell in there, we'd have a hard time fighting them off. We finally had all the construction done, and we got to the business of doing repairs. Walls and sandbags and generators. You name it. I went to bed. It was midnight and I was tired, but I was all healed up. Marjo and Spencer were both healed as well. We were all a little bit crabby. Spencer was still high on go juice. It's weird to see her sleeping after having taken something like that, but I guess it is what it is. Spencer woke up, got back to hauling bodies around. Not even sure it made sense to get rid of all those bodies at this point. Marjo and I were having a little fun. Spencer's mood had improved as well. And when we got up, Marjo started repairing stuff in her bedroom. She was feeling rather motivated. She worked her way around and finally made it out front. Spencer almost had all the bodies removed as well. I was helping with the repairs. Spencer's bed needed some work. I thought that should take priority over all these walls. And we just kept on repairing stuff as long as we could. Spencer almost had all the dead bodies hauled outside. I got to cleaning on the inside. The place is such a mess. There's still some guns laying around out front. We were going to get rid of them just so some jerk didn't pick them up. Spencer's running around picking up supplies from outside. There were shells, food. We didn't really want their food. And about that time, more pirates showed up, this time in transport pods. And it looked like there were going to be quite a few of them. Fortunately, we had a bunch of shells laying about, so I ran over to see if I could give them the business from a distance the way they'd done to us. The irony is, I was using their own shells for the job. They were so spread out, it didn't seem too likely I'd get any luck, but better than nothing. Of course, they came running up, and I decided to give up on shooting those shells. They were kind of a liability. Of course, one of them had some kind of Molotovs, bust through rocks. One of them had grenades, and they started chucking them like crazy. Marjo and I were over there ready to fight, so we took cover. Spencer decided to man the mortar. She could see if she could kill him. And she had a damn good bit of luck. She killed like 4 or 5 of them in a single shot, right as they all busted in. They were throwing grenades, taking each other out. One of them hit me with a Molotov, but it bounced off my armor and didn't do me any harm. And that was that. They'd done as much damage to themselves as we did to them, no doubt. If it wasn't for Spencer's lucky shot, we'd probably all be in a firefight still. Marjo was hiding. She'd almost had a mental break there. She was cowering from him, it seemed like to me. And of course, dead people everywhere. We had some walls to rebuild. Tons of stuff to repair yet. One thing at a time. Spencer decided to chill out and have a beer. Even though she's only 16, given what she's seen, we certainly weren't giving her any grief for that. And we got the outside walls fixed up. And we had a bunch of meals that we picked up from outside. I decided to hit the hay. We decided we would think it seemed like a good idea to take some wake up. We had enough for all of us to have a dose. And we had a ton of work to do, and we didn't want to get killed. Spencer was running out, picking up supplies. Steel seemed to be the priority. We had the exterior walls all rebuilt, and then we started repairing stuff. Those mortars really do a number on a place. So many dead bodies. Our dog recovered again, which is shocking. Marjo and I are pretty crabby. Spencer's feeling good, though. And about that time, more jerks showed up. Once again, trying to get us killed. Fortunately, we still had that mortar. So we decided to see if we could get lucky again. Spencer was out and about, but she wasn't too far out, so she came running in as well. We didn't know if they were going to try and go through a wall, or if they'd step into our guns at this point. But I was ready with the mortar. Marjo and Spencer were waiting for him to show up. Turns out they went for the traps. And that meant they weren't really going to be a threat to us, since they were all going to die on the traps and the guns. And when them guns open up, they do some damage. They left us some medicine, which is nice of them. And they decided to get the hell out of here. They'd stepped into more than they'd expected. Some of them were alive and suffering. After everything we'd seen, we were numb to it. Marjo went back to bed. She was high on go juice. Spencer was, as well as wake up. Marjo was high on wake up as well. So was I. I was feeling alright, except for all the corpses I'd seen and been around and smelled and had to just deal with. Such a disgusting mess around here still. There was no hope it was getting cleaned up. There were still some people alive out there, just begging for help. I think I saw Marjo kick one of them. She'd certainly had enough. We were going to try and rebuild the traps again, get all the bodies hauled out. That person that was suffering finally died. She managed to roll off of her dead buddy as she did so. I had to run on out and get some steel since we were all out. Marjo did the same. We weren't going to be rebuilding these traps too many more times. We had uranium. Not sure why we didn't use it. We just weren't thinking at the time. Things have been so hectic. Marjo was chilling out, having a beer. She wanted to chat, but we had a lot of work to do. And Spencer got to the business of cleaning up in the house, which is pretty impressive. We'd given up on the kitchen area. Just a nightmare in there. Marjo was repairing walls. And it was about that time some mechanoids showed up. They didn't seem like they were going to have much of a chance, though. They didn't seem smart enough to try and come through a wall. And if they stepped into those guns, that would take care of them for us. So we kept right on doing our repairs. We'd built as many of the traps as we could, and the mechanoids stepped on them. The guns took care of them pretty good. There were a lot of them, but there were a lot more guns. Spencer was pretty crabby. We could hear those mechanoids getting shot, those crazy mechanical screams, and they all were taken care of. Spencer chilled out and had a beer after cleaning in the kitchen for a bit. We decided to fix up our main living room. Spencer went to bed. Marjo and I repaired the table and chairs. And Spencer had a bit of a beer buzz. I was stoned on smoke leaf. Marjo was feeling all right. Didn't have anything going on, just the bionic business. We had 13 hours till our ship was ready. Marjo and I had fun together one last time in the sack. Seemed like it was about time to board that ship and try and get on out of here. 11 hours and counting. We were as excited as can be. Spencer ate a bunch of apples. She said it'd be a long time before she had fresh fruit again. She decided to do some cleaning. And about that time, another big group of tribes people showed up. We were hoping they'd walk into the guns. We could just ignore the whole situation. We'd had enough. That was pretty intense. Sure enough, the fools did. Those guns were beating the crap out of our walls out there. We had still had one trap active. Man, those people, it was just a slaughter. No idea what the heck they were thinking. We were cleaning up our house, trying to get things nice. Somehow we just wanted to leave something nice here after all the terribleness that had gone down. We were even rebuilding vents and walls in the kitchen area. Spencer was cleaning. Marjo and I were repairing and building. We got it all done. There were 4 hours till we could go. We were as excited as could be. That was it. We decided to get on over, forsake this place, see if we could survive. Spencer went, jumped in her casket. Marjo and I went and said our goodbyes. We'd see each other again, hopefully, if the aliens didn't get us. But for now, that was it. We jumped on in. And we waited. Not that we knew it. One of them people had stood back up. The guns weren't having that. We left our dogs. Hopefully they'd find something. There's plenty of bodies around to eat for a while anyway. And they could hunt together if they needed to. So many bodies. So much suffering and so much horror here. We were so happy to be leaving. Just signs of death. Battle everywhere. Aliens, humans, mechs, you name it. And that was that. It was over. The AI fired off the ship. we buzzed up. My only big regret, I never found out what happened to Kira. Hopefully she's alive and well somewhere, but on this planet, you don't know. We were gone. That was one of the most intense endgames I've ever had. Holy shiza, man. That was crazy when the mortars are coming down. Wow. I had no idea. Turns out you can't just let those guys go because that was crazy. Thanks for watching, guys. These playthroughs are a ton of work, so I don't know. I'd like to do another, but we'll see. I'm pretty busy these days. That's why the release rate slowed down quite a bit, as you no doubt saw. But yeah, I tried to stay on top of it. I wanted to do one last big long episode. Whoa, it was fun. That was crazy. That AVP mod is great, but it also slags it out. You could see it in the videos where it would get choppy, and I just had to deal with it. It seems like after you get a raid, before the second raid comes, so maybe when those little worm critters are on the map somewhere infecting an animal or a place, and I think it would be related to that because I'd always see random runners pop up after that. That's when we'd get attacked with no warning from Xenos. But anyway, that was crazy. Consider some support if you will. If you like this, leave a like, please. These are so much work. Also leave a comment what you thought. I might do another one. I'm thinking about working something in. I want to. Like I said, it's just a big commitment because it's so much work. Good times, good times. I'm going to let this play out, but that's it. Thanks much for watching.